Hello everyone, my name is Jesse. This is the Auditorium. I react to video game music as a musician myself, and today is the return of Donkey Kong Country. It's been a long time. I've heard DKC 2, but the first one, it's been a while. And one of my favorite songs actually comes from this game. It was Mining Melancholy. It's pretty cool. This is requested by Garvin and Francesca. So before I get into this one, I want to talk about why this song is here. This is Aquatic Ambience, by the way. So, long story short, I've started a series here called VJ Vibes, where I talk about, certain vibes of biomes, feelings, and stuff in video games. And I'm about to do an episode on aquatic vibes, water, H2O. And overwhelmingly, people were just like, you need to have this in the video, no matter what. I haven't even heard the song yet, and the whole point of VG and Vibes is mostly songs that I've already heard or experienced. So overwhelmingly amount of people were just like, you need to hear Aquatic Ambience from DKC. So here we are, and this means I will actually put it in the video automatically, so no pressure. I don't even know if it's good, and I'm gonna have to put it into the episode, so that's what I signed up for. So anyways, apparently this is the aquatic theme. It's got aquatic in the title. It's from channel Dark Evil 87's Long Plays Aquatic Ambience from Donkey Kong Country. Make sure everything's all good. Okay, cool. Let's go. I'm guessing that's the stage. Oh, David Weiss, by the way. Let's get that filtered sound. I don't know if I'd want a banana that's been underwater. Wow. I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna hold off on it. David Weiss is a fan of Phil Collins. Oh, that sounds familiar. Got a little wood block. I can see why people will say to check this song out. Splash on the drums. Weiss definitely has his own sound, doesn't he? I'm noticing some stuff per console you have to talk about certain composers, and I think Dave David is like, one of Nintendo's shining stars. Was that it? Okay. Interesting. So it's going to be featured in 2 videos now. I got to talk about it later. But as far as my reaction goes, the first time hearing it, well, it's definitely this... What I was originally going to say is one thing, and then it turned into 2 things. At first I was going to say, it's a song... It sounds perfectly... Let me rephrase that. The title is perfect. It sounds aquatic, and it's definitely ambient. So, like, what perfect... I feel like this sort of song title kind of came naturally. Like, I have to name these songs. What is this one? Let's just call it, like, Aquatic Ambience for now, like a placeholder. But it actually ends up being quite perfect. Now, it's funny because... I don't want to, like, talk too much about that future episode, but it's basically along the lines of this, right? It's what I feel constitutes as far as, like, a certain vibe of... aquatic, right? Like in games. This one has pretty much all of that encompassed into one. It has the long drony synth chords. Everything had just like this touch of reverb on it, so it sounded like it just would like dissipate into the water. The percussion sounded like it was underwater, just like rippling away. All these synonyms for water, and I'm guessing it plays right here too, which would make total sense. But it also has this thing that I've also noticed in aquatic type songs, is that there's a little bit of like a haunting feel to them, or a little bit of a mystery, kind of far away sounding. It doesn't always sound... That's the reverb, right? It doesn't sound like you're close. It sounds like you're into the depths. Things sound muffled, filtered, and that's what I've always liked about it. So it's really funny that people overwhelmingly were like, you cannot simply make a video about aquatic themes without listening to this first, essentially. And it was to the point where it kind of like bypassed the vote. It was so many people telling me about it. So I did, and here we are. But I can see it, and hear it. But also, I feel like this is the time to, like I was mentioning, this is the time to talk about David Wise. I didn't grow up with anything Nintendo besides a Game Boy Color, and that was Pokemon. So the whole Nintendo nostalgia I don't have, but I was always aware of it growing up. But I was just on the other side, so I had the Genesis, I had the PlayStation, right? I had basically everything, but I didn't have everything. But I had the opposing team. I was not a Nintendo kid, and I missed out on your Zeldas, your Marios, your this, etc., etc., etc. So as I've been doing this now for a couple years now, discovering all these songs, and Nintendo was a big factor into me even starting the auditorium, because I missed on all of it. And as I've been, noticing composers and seeing themes here and there, some names keep coming up, and I feel like David Wise is probably responsible for like millions of people's nostalgia and simpler times, like the times of Blockbuster and Pogs and whatever, Power Rangers, I don't know, the 90s stuff. I saw it was SNES, so I was like, oh, I got to name stuff from that era. I was a kid. It was definitely my demographic, but like I said, I was playing other stuff. And there's a couple of other names, like Koji Kondo comes to mind. I can't think of anyone else right now. Grant Kirkhope is another one that I discovered. But David Wise has just a sound that he created and kind of mastered. And I hear it in Mighty Melancholy. I've heard it in the there was like a Forest song I heard too. What's funny is, now that I think about it, I was thinking it as I was saying it. I could make like an entire like vibe episode on just him. You know, everything I've heard from him is kind of like the definition of vibe stuff, and that's from what I've heard so far. I think I've only heard Donkey Kong music from him. I don't know if he's done anything else, but everything I've heard has that. It's hard. It's weird to explain, but it's like a vibe within a vibe. You know, it's just it's surrounding a theme so well, and it's chill, calming, and yeah, I just keep saying it's just a vibe. Like, you know, David Wise is that I can tell it's him, or at least if I were to hear a song without like blindly without knowing who it was, I would be able to kind of distinguish his style. That says a lot, you know. It says a lot for someone like me who didn't grow up with it, but also who listens to VGM all day, all the time. For me to like be able to pinpoint someone's sound, it's pretty cool. I don't know if they're still around. I know they're still active on Twitter, but I don't know if they still make music or, you know, what he's up to. But I can hear the classicness coming from this. You know, I can hear everyone immediately going back into their youth, not paying bills and all that. And I can see already the comments flooding with nostalgia. My brother and I played this game, you know, and all this, and I live for that kind of stuff. Those are my favorite type of comments. Is the memories, you know. If anything, my comment section is pretty special because it's like 10% people just like asking for stuff. It's like 50% of like, hey, thanks for checking it, and then the other like remaining 50 is just, or 40 is like memories and people telling me like they grew up with this or whatever. They still remember like the day it happened. So I can already see it happening, and it's special. I can feel it, you know. But as far as song titles, this has to be probably the most appropriate song title I've ever heard. It's great, you know. It's pretty much what I was expecting going into it, but it kind of surpassed that as far as, you know, because you have to remember that I don't typically have almost any information going into a video. I'm very ignorant as far as like avoiding details and all that. This is one of those like rare instances where people were telling me like aquatic vibe, like you need to hear this. So I already had like an incoming like pressure going into it, but you know, it kind of went away as soon as it started. Yeah, I see and hear the hype behind it. Very cool, very nostalgic. Very nostalgic is like the best word I can use, and aquatic and ambient. I know, right? So boring, but really, it really was. It really was. So, I don't know what else to say. David Wise is really cool, and it's really exciting hearing stuff that's so iconic and classic to so many people. But for me, I'm like a complete stranger in his 30s. Even though I've always heard of Donkey Kong. I've always heard of, you know what I mean? So. This channel is bizarre when you really think about it, because being aware but also not experienced until much later when I'm like fully developed instead of growing up with it, you know what I mean? This is like no bias, but I guess that's why you watch. Anyways, that was Aquatic Ambience requested by Francesca and Guarvin, and from the channel Dark Evil 87 Long Plays. Thank you. Okay, well, I guess before I move on to the ending of this video, just to shamelessly plug the VGM Vibe series, those are different from reactions. Those videos are songs that I know, that I've listened to, grew up with, or have experienced in some capacity. So now when I talk about this song later on, at that point, I will have heard the song multiple times in different instances, so I'll get more familiar with it, and I'll have much more to say because I'm going to be, you know, much more involved instead of just hearing it for the first time. So this song will be in there, as well as another song that I'm about to do right after this video, which is another big deal. So yeah, no pressure. Aquatic Ambience from Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. Thank you to all my Patreon members who forced me to listen to this. And thanks to my Platinum members. Thanks to you for watching. My name is Jesse in the Auditorium. I'll see you in VGM Vibes 3. And I'll just see you in the next video. Peace.